Velvet curtains hold the candlelight. The room remembers everything. A forgotten glove beside the ashtray. The scent of cedar, the ghost of spring. I trace the rim of an empty wine glass, the way a moon outlines the sea. Some loves don't end, they simply settle, like snowfall into symmetry. The piano finds the notes I've misplaced in the drawer beside my bed. I don't reach for them, I let them wander through the warm and amber thread. Velvet and snow, that's how this evening feels. Soft enough to touch without breaking, cold enough to make things real. I pour another glass of something golden, let the jazz dissolve the night. Velvet and snow, and all the spaces where you used to sit and light. Silver spoons in porcelain silence. The radiator ticks and hums. I've learned to love the sound of almost, the held breath just before it comes. Your handwriting still marks the margin of the novel on my windowsill. I read around your notes like water, reading stone, reading still. December drapes itself in patience, asks for nothing, offers dark. I have learned to live in its dimensions, to build a room around the spark. Velvet and snow, that's how the quiet sounds. The bass walks soft beneath the evening. The drum keeps making gentle rounds. I won't call it lonely lakes exactly, more like waiting dressed in blue. Velvet and snow, and somewhere distant, someone who was once you. Let the night be long and undemanding. Let the candle find its own way down. I will sit with all the things worth keeping, like a jeweler in a quiet town, sorting through the cuts and the facets, all the light a small thing holds. Velvet and snow tonight, and darling, that is worth more than gold. Velvet snow, you. Velvet curtains hold the candlelight. The room remembers everything. A forgotten glove beside the ashtray, the scent of cedar, the ghost of spring. I trace the rim of an empty wine glass, the way a moon outlines the sea. Some loves don't end, they simply settle like snowfall into symmetry. The radiator clicks its slow permission. The lamp agrees in amber and in gold. I have learned to be a careful tenant of a winter growing old. Silver spoons and porcelain silence. The hallway holds its breath at 8. I have learned to love the sound of almost, the suspended note, the pause before too late. Your handwriting still marks the margins of the novel on my windowsill. I read around your notes like water reading stone. Slow, deliberate, still. The city hides itself in white this evening, each street lamp wrapped in its own private glow. I pour a second glass and watch the window make a mirror of the snow. The piano finds the notes I've misplaced in the drawer beside my bed. I don't reach for them, I let them wander through the warm and amber thread. December drapes itself in patience, asks for nothing, offers dark. I have learned to live inside its dimensions, to build a room around a spark. Velvet and snow, that's how this evening feels. Soft enough to touch without breaking, cold enough to make things real. I pour another glass of something golden. Let the jazz dissolve the night. Velvet and snow in all the spaces where you used to sit and light. The bass walks underneath like something faithful. The brushes keep their whispered patient time. Velvet and snow, and I am learning how to make your absence mine. I found the photograph inside the cookbook, between the page for soup and something sweet. You were laughing at whoever took it, head half turned, the composition incomplete. I kept it where it was between the pages. Let the soup and sweetness hold you there. Some things are best preserved in their surroundings, in the context of the life we used to share. The record player sighs its last rotation. The needle finds the center and goes still. I do not lift the arm to start it over. Tonight I think I will. The piano finds the notes I've misplaced in the drawer beside my bed. I don't reach for them, I let them wander through the warm and amber thread. December drapes itself in patience, asks for nothing, offers dark. I have learned to live inside its dimensions, to build a room around a spark. Velvet and snow, that's how the quiet sounds. The bass walks soft beneath the evening. The drum keeps making gentle rounds. I won't call it loneliness exactly, more like waiting dressed in blue. Velvet and snow, and somewhere distant, someone who was once you. The candle finds its way down to the holder. The wax pools soft around the wick. Velvet and snow, and I am learning which silences to pick. Let the night be long and undemanding. Let the candle find its own way down. I will sit with all the things worth keeping, like a jeweler in a quiet town, sorting through the cuts and the facets, holding each one up against the light. Some Some gems only show their color clearly in the middle of a winter night. Love is not a thing that simply vanishes. It changes state like water into snow. It covers everything with equal patience, makes the whole world soft and slow. And I sit here in its quiet aftermath, a woman in a room that's warm and dim, with velvet curtains and a glass of something golden. All the space that once held him, velvet and snow. That's all I need tonight. The piano breathing in the corner, the bass line holding everything right. I won't call it sadness if you won't call it over. I won't call it loss if you call it change. Velvet and snow, and I am sitting in the middle of the beautiful and strange. Still on you somewhere, me here, both of us still. I've been watching smoke above the candle, how it finds a shape and then lets go. Love, I think, is something like that practice, the art of rising beautifully slow. There is a bar on 9th that plays on Thursdays, where the pianist keeps his eyes half closed. He has learned to play the space between the notes, the way that grief is best disclosed. I went alone last winter with my notebook, wrote down nothing, ordered gin and ice, watched the drummer brush the snare so gently, like a man apologizing twice. In the winter I become a librarian of every quiet thing we shared. The specific weight of Tuesday silences, the way you slept when you were scared, the angle of your shoulder in the morning, the coffee cup you always filled too full. These are not possessions I can sell off, not a grief in need of removal. They are simply what a life accumulates when it has loved something true. An archive kept in no particular order, organized entirely around you. The bass player never looks at his fingers, trusts the wood to hold the note. I am learning that same kind of confidence in the things that keep me afloat. The smoke above the candle doesn't worry whether anyone is watching it ascend. It simply finds the shape it was intended and releases in the end. The way smoke learns to disappear is the way I've learned your name. Not forgotten, not exactly, more like water into rain. I carry you the way the evening carries, lighted, borrowed from the day. The way smoke learns to disappear, my darling. That is how I'll find my way up and out out and thinning into nothing that is visible to anyone but me. The way smoke learns to disappear is how I'm learning to be free. The bartender is reading something Russian, his thumb pressed down against the spine. I respect a man who brings his book to work, who draws a line between his world and mine. The saxophone from somewhere in the back room bends a note I feel inside my chest. Some music doesn't ask to be interpreted, it simply makes its way and does the rest. I ordered something warm without a name for it. The bartender just nodded, poured it slow. There are evenings when the best thing you can offer is the thing you already know. The smoke above the candle doesn't worry whether anyone is watching it ascend. It simply finds the shape it was intended and releases in the end. The music in this room has no ambition, it only asks the night to hold it here. I am learning from its easy generosity, I am learning how to clear. The way smoke learns to disappear is the way I've learned to breathe. Not the sharp inhale of losing more, the long exhale of leave. I have found a table near the window, ordered coffee, let it cool beside my hand. The way smoke learns to disappear, my darling, is something I am starting to understand. Not an ending and not a beginning, just a shape releasing into air. The way smoke learns to disappear is the way I learned that you were there. There is no conclusion to this story, just a season learning when to turn. There is no silence that is truly empty, just the space between the notes that burn. I have been the woman with a notebook who writes nothing but still comes back each week, because the music asks nothing of its listeners except to let it speak. If you find yourself one winter in a city where the jazz plays soft behind a steamed up door, pull a chair up to the warmest table, order something, stay, ask nothing more. That is the practice, that is the release, that is the way the smoke goes up. That is the way a person finds her peace. The way smoke learns to disappear is the way I've come to know that love does not require a destination, only the permission to let go. Not forgetting something past, forgetting something the body holds but doesn't name. The way smoke learns to disappear, my darling, and I am nearly there, nearly there. Smoke window. I still said the a table for two on Sundays. Old habit like breathing like cold. The second chair has its own kind of patience, more graceful than I am, truth told. The lamp you chose is the one I keep burning, warm orange against the winter wall. The room has not decided you are absent, and I haven't told it yet at all. The kettle boils at the time you preferred it. The windows fog the way they always do. The apartment keeps its old routine without me, running through the motions made for two. There are things a house knows that its owner will not let herself acknowledge yet. The hinges know, the floorboards know the pattern of a footstep I cannot forget. The kitchen memorized the way you moved in it. The refrigerator learned your favorite shelf. The bathroom mirror holds the angle that you favored. The towel bar tilted slightly left. I have not rearranged a single corner, not from grief or not from grief alone, more because the room already knows its business, and it manages the knowing on its own. January came and rearranged nothing. February made no real demands. March arrived with something like a question. I held it loosely in both hands. April brought the light back through the curtains, and I let it fall wherever it would fall. The room accepted every month's arrival, and I walk the rooms through all. A room that still expects you, sets no clocks and draws no lines. It keeps your mug beside the kettle, saves your place between the lines. I live inside its patient argument, its quiet refusal to forget. A room that still expects you, darling, and a woman who does yet. The baseline holds the room together. The piano marks the hours as they pass. A room that still expects you every evening, looking for your shadow in the glass. The neighbors must have noticed something different. The light that stays on later than it should. The mail I let accumulate on Tuesdays. The packages I leave outside for good. Mrs. Kim downstairs left soup one Thursday, knocked and left before I reached the door. I ate it at the table set for two still. It was the kindest thing I'd asked her for. is a language spoken between neighbors that requires no explanation or reply. A pot of soup left outside on a landing can hold more than words can hold inside. The jazz trio plays from the old speaker, piano, bass, and brush on drum. They don't ask what happened in this apartment. They only ask that I become whatever someone becomes after. Become what if February leaves? The music doesn't ask me to explain myself. It only asks me to receive. A room that still expects you breathes a little differently at night. It turns the heating up by 3 degrees. It keeps the entryway in light. I have stopped explaining to the furniture what absence means and how it lands. A room that still expects you, darling, simply understands. The drum brush whispers something like permission. The bass confirms it in its lowest note. A room that still expects you every evening is the warmest coat. One day I will move the second chair. One day I will drink from both the mugs. One day I'll rearrange the bookshelf order, move the furniture and roll the rugs. One day I will let the lamp burn lower, let the table be a table for just one. One day all of this will feel like living. The pianist pauses between every measure, leaves room enough to breathe or cry. I have learned to live inside those little pauses, the art of the unfinished goodbye. Some things are better held in rests and silences, in the space before the note resolves. Love, I think, lives mostly in the almost, in the chord that turns before it dissolves. He plays an A and waits before the answer. He plays a C and leaves it hanging there. The whole room leans into the space between them, finding what the silence has to spare. I came here for the music, not the meaning, but the meaning came regardless, soft and slow, the way things do when winter lowers ceilings, and the warmth is all you have to know. The drummer barely touches what he's playing, a whisper made of wire against the skin. The bass just walks its slow and certain circle, and I lean into the sound of being in a room where things are held lightly, where no one asks you what you're doing here. The music makes a space for every person and the reasons they appear. There is a kind of peace inside a jazz club when the trio finds its stride. Everything unnecessary falls away, and all that's left is what's inside. The note the pianist chose to leave unplayed is louder than the ones he pressed. I have been sitting here for 3 Decembers, learning what that silence has expressed. What the piano doesn't say says everything to me. The pause before the left hand answers, the note left hanging free. I have learned to hear the space between us as its own complete and quiet song. What the piano doesn't say, my darling, is where I still belong. The bass confirms it with its patient walking. The drum agrees in its most gentle way. What the piano doesn't say between the measures is what I came to hear today. I used to fill the silence with my reasons, make arguments from every empty bar, insist that music meant a certain something, map the territory like a war. Now I sit and let the music breathe itself and follow where the open spaces are. I have learned that the most truthful things resist me when I reach too hard or travel too far. The pianist is not performing for the tables. He is working something out inside the sound. I recognize that kind of private labor, the thing you do until the thing is found. The note the pianist chose to leave unplayed reverberates in ways the played ones don't. I have been sitting here in winter after winter, learning what the rest can and won't give back the loss, won't fill the silence, won't replace the thing the measure had, but it holds the shape of what was there before it, like the outline of a thing you once were glad. What the piano doesn't say is louder than the rest. The note it chose to leave out of the measure is the one that I love best. I have stopped translating into language what was only ever meant to sound. What the piano doesn't say, my darling, is the most that I have found. A whole vocabulary made of silence, a whole grammar made of held and held and held. What the piano doesn't say between the measures is the story of us told. Teach me how to leave things beautifully unfinished. Teach me how to end without a close. Teach me how to sit inside a winter evening and ask nothing of the notes. Teach me how the pause becomes the music, how the space becomes the place to rest. Teach me that the things I didn't tell you were perhaps the ones I understood the best. If all we had was music without words for it, if all we left was silence in its place, that silence would be shaped exactly like you, and I would recognize your face. The piano knows it always knew It never needed anything from me. It played the notes and left the spaces open, and trusted me to see what the piano doesn't say. I carry in my chest. The space between the notes is where I live now. The pause between the rest. I have built a life inside the unresolved chord. Found a home in the measure that suspends what the piano doesn't say, my darling, is where this story